The Slavic slave trade, a complex and often overlooked aspect of European history, unfolded over centuries, intertwining with the rise and fall of empires, shifting economic structures, and social dynamics. This extensive trade primarily involved the enslavement of Slavic peoples from Eastern Europe, particularly in the regions we now know as Poland, Ukraine, and the Balkans. Understanding this trade requires delving into its historical context, the mechanisms of enslavement, the routes taken by traders, and the socio-economic implications of slavery in Slavic societies. The roots of the Slavic slave trade can be traced back to the early medieval period, around the 9th century. As the Byzantine Empire expanded and the demand for labor grew, Slavic peoples became targets for enslavement. The term slave itself derives from Slav, highlighting the extent to which Slavic individuals were commodified in the eyes of traders. The rise of powerful trading cities, particularly in Venice and Genoa, facilitated the expansion of the slave trade. These city-states established trade routes that connected Europe with the Middle East and North Africa, where there was a substantial demand for labor. Slavic captives were often transported across these routes, filling the ranks of laborers, concubines, and soldiers in foreign lands. Slavic peoples were often captured through warfare, raids, or deception. Viking raiders, particularly the Varangians, played a significant role in this early trade, conducting raids along rivers and seizing individuals from their communities. The Christianization of Slavic nations also contributed to their vulnerability, as internal divisions and conflicts weakened their resistance to external threats. In addition to warfare, economic factors influenced the enslavement of Slavs. Peasants, often struggling under feudal obligations, were sometimes sold into slavery to pay off debts. The promise of economic gain made it easier for local lords and traders to exploit vulnerable individuals. The trade routes for Slavic slaves were varied and expansive. The Dnieper and Volga rivers served as significant arteries for transport, connecting Eastern Europe with the Byzantine Empire and the Islamic world. Major trading hubs, such as Chersonesos in Crimea and Constantinople, became central marketplaces for Slavic captives. The trade extended beyond Europe into the Ottoman Empire, where Slavic slaves were highly sought after. The Ottomans utilized slaves in various capacities, including military service in the Janissary Corps, domestic work, and agricultural labor. The demand for slaves continued into the 18th century, significantly impacting Slavic societies. The Slavic slave trade had profound effects on the societies from which individuals were taken. Communities faced depopulation due to raids, leading to labor shortages and economic instability. The social fabric of Slavic communities was disrupted as families were torn apart, and cultural practices were diminished by the loss of individuals. In some regions, the ongoing threat of enslavement altered social hierarchies. Nobles sometimes benefited economically from the trade, while the peasantry faced increasing vulnerability. The psychological impact of the trade created an atmosphere of fear, affecting community cohesion and leading to increased militarization. Despite the pervasive nature of the Slavic slave trade, there were instances of resistance. Slavic communities organized themselves to repel raiders and protect their people. Over time, changing economic structures and the rise of abolitionist sentiments in the 18th and 19th centuries began to challenge the legitimacy of slavery. By the late 19th century, the Slavic slave trade began to wane as European powers shifted their focus towards colonialism and the exploitation of other regions. The changing landscape of labor, driven by industrialization, also decreased the demand for slaves. The legacy of the Slavic slave trade is multifaceted. It serves as a reminder of the historical exploitation of vulnerable populations and the enduring impact of slavery on cultural identity. The trade also contributed to the complex relationship between Eastern and Western Europe, as the remnants of this history continue to influence socio-political dynamics today. In conclusion, the Slavic slave trade represents a significant yet often overlooked chapter in the broader narrative of European history. By understanding the complexities of this trade, we can better appreciate the historical context of slavery and its lasting implications on societies and cultures. The trade not only affected individual lives but also shaped the economic and social landscapes of Europe for centuries to come.